Yo, what up, everybody? It's Hollywood Unlocked with Jason Lee Uncensored. I'm Jason Lee.
And I'm your girl, Blue Toulousema.
Yeah, I was DJ Damage.
All right, so listen, we're catching up with somebody who's a Capricorn. You never know how that could go because you know how they be. But Sara Molina, Sara Molina is here. How are you doing,
Hi,
Sara?
I'm fine.
Wait, so you said off camera that we met before, and was it a good situation? Was there
Um,
something going on?
no, it wasn't. It was a networking like it was Cardi B's Fashion Nova party. It was like last year in
Okay,
LA. I think you know Trevor, or no, not Trevor. Travis. I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. Travis. He
probably,
he,
probably.
he introduced me. He was like, "Oh, Jason, Sarah, or whatever." But it was a lot going on. So
There was a lot going on that party. I was trying to avoid a bunch
yeah,
of NBA players. You know, I'd be
yeah.
doing stuff. All right. Well, listen. I know that we had reached out to you because we had never really engaged you or talked about you, but we do follow you and we post you a lot. And I know you just be trying to mind your own business, and it seems like you be getting drug into stuff. And I just, when we write about people at Hollywood Unlocked and we don't know them, there are times I want to bring them into our world so we can get to know them, know more about them let people know more about them because I feel like over the last year or so, maybe even a couple years, you've just been like a headline. And I know you're a whole person. And so hopefully
Yeah.
we wanted to get to know you a little bit.
I mean, give or take the situation. That's what's gonna follow me. I would be stupid to think not after some point in time. Maybe it'll get old, it'll fade, but it is what it is. I know I'm my own person. That's why it doesn't bother me as much, and the people who know me know that. So I can't really complain.
So Sarah at some point fell in love with a guy, had a kid. His
Mhm.
name happened to be 6ix9ine, Tekashi 6ix9ine. I'm sure he has a real name. I don't want to say it, but that's who the world knows is 6ix9ine. You had a kid by this guy, and now it seems like it's the dark cloud that follows you around. I'm not trying to project that, but it just kind of seems that
I
way.
mean,
Do
it
you?
would seem that way. Anybody can really say that it seems that way over social media, but I mean, I don't look at it. Yeah, there are, cons that come with being what I am, to him, but I can't, it's just, it's not any worse on me than what it is on him, so I can't really complain.
Mhm.
Mm.
So,
And so for people that don't know how you all met, and you guys met young, right? I mean, you
yeah,
guys were pretty much kids.
he was my first boyfriend. I was 16 when we met.
Aww.
And
I,
so, how old were you when you got pregnant?
I was 19 turning 20. We were already with each other for some years.
You were trying to get pregnant,
No, no.
so it just was a
I think
passionate night that led to.
when you're young, you shouldn't be trying to have kids that young, you know? So that was definitely not something that was planned. But I'm happy it happened. I have my daughter and I don't regret anything about that. So,
Y'all was just practicing.
ah, you would say, yeah.
So your daughter, her name is Soraya.
Yeah, Saria.
How old is she now?
She's turning 5 this month.
Okay, so you were in a full-fledged relationship with Danny,
Hmm.
and you loved him, and he loved you, and you believe he really loved you, right?
Yeah. I mean, to the best way he knew how to love, I guess. Because I don't
At that
think
at that age.
anybody's definition of what he considered love or what anybody else considers love is the same. So,
So how were you raised? I mean, what's your backstory? Like people don't know you. I don't feel like. Tell me about you.
I was raised in a two-parent household. My parents have been together since they were 13, and they've been married for over 25 years. So I've always had a strong presence of a father figure. My parents were involved in my life at all. So, I mean, I always had that portrait painted nicely to me growing up. So I always wanted that. I figured like the man I have a kid with or whatever, this is the man I'm gonna be with. Whoever I decided to start a family with, that's, what was set to be for me in my head, because of how I was raised. And I come from a big family, and all of us, like all my uncles, my aunts, they've been together for over 20 plus, it's normal for me to
Wow.
see that.
I was just interested when you first got with Danny. What did your parents think?
Um, I was still too young in my parents' eyes. Like, they weren't hearing the whole boyfriend thing, but they didn't want me to sneak away from or like do things behind their back, so they were more open to it. But my father, I'm his oldest, and I'm the oldest of five. So everything that he went through with his kids, he went through first with me, and I guess that was kind of like the test dummy through it all. My parents, they didn't know how to like handle, you know, the situation of me having a boyfriend. It was just
Well, because you were like 15 years old at the time, right?
yeah.
15,
I was like
16.
six. I was 16. Yeah.
Yeah. And Danny at the time didn't have tattoos on his face. He was just a regular kid from the
No,
block, right?
he looked normal. He didn't have no
Now the
tattoos.
Now we've seen some pictures that had popped up of him before, the tattoos and the lace front wigs and all that. He
Uh
was
huh.
dressed down. Maybe he had a nice little Dickie outfit in the backpack. He just looked like a regular kid. Was that who you met and started to like? Because I want to know, like, when did it go from that into this mega marketing machine that's like on everybody's Instagram causing havoc every day?
No, the funny thing is, the picture that you're saying is what went viral. I didn't meet him at that time. That's still like maybe like a year or two before I met him. So he didn't look the same as that picture. I think I know what you're talking about. That he has like
Okay.
a sweater vest or something like a button down shirt. But I didn't
Right.
meet him around that time. I met him like actually 2 years after that, and he had like a different style or swag. He wasn't dressing the same. He had wore beanies. He was like known to like have these outrageous clothes that said all this like tons of curses and stuff like that. That was the style back then.
And so, what was it that? Because we all have our childhood sweethearts. What was it that a Sarah Molina who grew up in a two-parent household, grew up around love, how, what was it about him that attracted you to him? Because I don't know, a person that we don't know. You know a person before all of the stunts and the charades and the
Absolutely.
Instagram and the world. And so when people think about how you fall in love with a person, they may think about who they know you to be now on Instagram and who they know him to be, not who you both were at that time. Was he just a totally different person?
Yeah. I mean, I took to him the same way many other people took to him, like for the same reason some may find a liking to him. Like, I thought he was funny. I thought he had tons of charisma. I thought, we got along well. It was just things, simple traits like that I took to him, and that's the reason why, you know, I gave him a shot and we started dating or whatever. But
What do you think is like the biggest misconception about him? Because the person that you're painting sounds so different than what I was expecting. I'm a little surprised.
yeah, I think people's biggest misconception is it's hard to just like describe him now as a person. It's I really I wouldn't know how to describe him now as a person without like contradicting who he used to be. So it's just like I can't say the the Danny that I remember. I can't say currently that he's still he I can't say he's so caring or whatever, because if he looks now, he seems to only care about himself. I things that I remember, I can't speak on now, because he's a totally different person now. I don't know this person. I'm not in his life, so I had like it's just that.
And that was the point that I was getting at, really just trying to establish for the audience who may look at you as the mother of 6ix9ine's child, but you're in your head the woman who fell in love with a younger Danny before 6ix9ine and had a whole established relationship with an individual that you knew. Now he's somebody else. I sometimes think he doesn't even know who he is.
No,
And so,
I feel the same way. It's so unfortunate and sad to see someone that I used to know off the back of my hand and watch them all over the internet, and they look completely lost. So it's just like I I kind of pity him in that way.
One of the things that I know that you've been open about is being subjected to, and I don't know if you use the word victim, but subjected to domestic violence, and while you were in a relationship with
I'm a
Danny or
survivor,
6ix9ine,
yeah.
a survivor.
I'm
But
not
you've
a
been open. You've been
victim.
open about you've been open
Yeah,
about that.
I
What
do.
made
I do advocate for that. I do events. The last event I did was with Evelyn Lozada, and it was a big thing. We did it within our neighborhood. We went back to the old high schools. So I'm very like tapped in and like tuned in to like advocating and doing stuff like that because a part of what I went through was very traumatic, and for a long time I normalized it and it wasn't normal and I didn't know how to break out or like have someone to talk to where they would understand me being so passive aggressive with these real life situations that really put me in harm physically, not even just emotionally, mentally, So I like doing that type of stuff. I like reaching out to the
Hmm.
young girls and stuff like that because when I
Yeah.
was going through what I went through, I didn't have nobody to talk to. It wasn't normal. I couldn't come to my family. No woman in my family, they weren't gonna look at me like crazy. They were gonna look at me like I was crazy. Like I was raised better than that.
right, and so that's the point. If you grew up in a
Hmm.
two-parent household around a lot of love, how do when you find yourself in a situation? Because I'm trying to understand. I know that you've said he's hit you in front of your daughter, and there may have been some other things. What were the type of experiences that you were having when you were together?
I mean, I can explain it in a nutshell by just saying the most generic thing. When we were good, and when we were bad, we was really bad. And it's, as toxic as it sounds, that's what our relationship was.
When did it start? Because I know y'all together from young. Was it always that way? When did this abuse start?
Um, it started maybe roughly like a month after I moved in with him. A
Wow.
year into our relationship.
A year into the relationship. Okay.
Hmm.
And so is there a reason why? And I've interviewed Khalees, who was very open about being abused by Nas, and I've talked to a lot of women who've had abusive relationships, and there are some who feel really comfortable about talking about the details, and there are some that like to sum them up in nutshells. Why do you not like to get into the weeds of it? Is it because it's too painful? Because you don't want to? Because you want to protect him, or what is
No,
it?
no, no. Quite honestly, I have gone into depth about a lot of the abuse and stuff like that. But my thing is, I'm not gonna keep on saying my story on deaf ears. A lot of people don't care, to hear what I went through, and that's fine. I'm not expecting anybody to care, especially when the internet is full of young kids, and a lot of these young kids idolize him, so he can do no wrong in their eyes, and all these things that they like to type up underneath my comments as soon as I say anything about him that doesn't shine a good light on him. So it's not that it's painful because there's times where I spoke my story and it's hard for people to believe because I'm not as emotional as they think I should be. But there are times where certain things, as I say the story, that might trigger me one day that they didn't in that moment. So it's it's very complicated with when it depends on the audience of who I'm speaking to that I would decide to get into depth about it. But over the internet to a bunch of 12-year-olds that have him as their freaking icon picture, no.
Hmm.
But that's why what intrigues me about you in this story is that I have been watching from the background, the back and forth. I know his voice is a lot louder than yours. He's a lot louder than ours because of who he is and the 12-year-olds that set him up on that pedestal, right?
Yeah.
But I do believe no matter how big or small a person's voice is, or specifically a woman's voice is, they should always have a platform to be able to share their side. I know that you had said or you had accused them of rape and abuse, and people blamed you or people didn't believe you, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I wasn't so forthcoming about my whole domestic abuse, any of it at all. Um, it was right before he had got locked up in 2018 that a picture was leaked of my busted mouth. He had one morning punched me in my mouth, and I took a picture of it and I sent it to someone, you know. But that person later on, after the fact, after right down to the wire of him about to get locked up, they leaked it and it was just everywhere. So even after that, I was quiet because it's just like I wasn't ready. I didn't have a choice to put that stuff out there. Someone did it for me, and that wasn't fair. Unfortunately, it's like, I'm not mad at the person for doing it. You want to know why? Because I felt like had they not done it, I don't think I would have been so forthcoming or open to even, speak about it.
I have a quick question, just to tap back real quick about your family. You talked about how you were raised and your father. I'm a father as well. What would you have needed from your parents to be more open about what was going on in your relationship as far as the abuse?
Absolutely nothing. My parents are young parents. You see my dad, he looks like he can be my man. You see my mom, she looks like she can be my sister. My
Oh,
parents,
I love your mother, by the
I
way. Just so
know,
you
I know
know,
you
I'm a
do.
fan of your mom.
I know
I'm
you
a
do.
fan of your mother.
She said, he's posted me up a few times. I'm like, all right.
Mom's damaged and blue. Mom's is spicy. She's not playing.
My mom
So
don't
she's
play.
she's
My
she's
mom's
as pretty
young
as you are,
mom.
I'm guessing.
I tend to look a little bit more like my father, so but I do resemble her. But it's just like I have young parents. My parents, they were raised by the streets, they raised each other, and we essentially raised each other. My mom had me at 16. My dad was the same age. It's just, babies having babies. So my parents, like I said, they weren't trying to hear the boyfriend thing. They were open. You know, I have wonderful parents. My parents are really great, and I'm happy that they didn't shelter me from a lot. But it's just like I was young and in love. I wasn't hearing nobody. I just had
So the damages question, you the reason why there was nothing that your parents could have done to
no.
get you
I
to
don't
tell
put
them
that
because
blame
that.
on my parents.
Mm.
I
Well,
don't.
yeah, and I'm not getting that vibe from you, but just as a parent myself, what's something that I could project to my kids to make sure they feel comfortable if there was a situation to come to me and bring it
Just
up?
my thing was, even though I have such an open relationship with my parents, I felt like I leaned on one parent more than the other. So it's just like I lean. Anybody who knows me knows how extremely close I am with my dad. So it's just like imagine trying to lean on my father figure about something that I know can either put him in jail or really hurt him. Being the type of man that he is. And I have younger
Mm.
siblings. I would never want put my dad in a position where he can lose his livelihood or anything like that. In my head, I'm thinking I would never come to my dad and tell him this is what's being done to me. And I can't really
Mm.
know how to come to my mom about it because she's such a strong, assertive woman. She doesn't tolerate anything, you know?
Mm.
So
Mhm.
it's just like Jason knows he's seen how crazy my mom gets on that. Imagine her in person. It's just like I I did feel alone, even though my parents did nothing wrong.
Mm.
Mm.
So you were talking about women earlier and social media and audience, right? And I
Hmm.
know a lot of young girls who are watching you, they think you're beautiful, your family's beautiful, you are linked to this rapper where whether good or bad, getting some kind of attention or notoriety or fame for that. But your story is kind of sobering, right? Like it's not all glitz, it's not all glam.
No,
So for the young girls out there who want to be in your position, who want to be linked to a rapper, who want to have a baby by a celebrity, what cautionary advice would you give to young girls who think that what you're doing is better than what they have at home?
I mean, I feel like the girls that are aiming for that are cut from a different cloth. I didn't go seek after a rapper and say I want to have a baby by a rapper. I met a kid
Right.
my age that I so happened to fall in love with, and this is what his life turned out to be. So I wouldn't know what advice to tell a girl if she wanted to have a kid by a rapper or something. Is I didn't have a kid by a rapper. I had a kid with someone who was still Danny. I
Who
can't.
became a rapper?
Yeah, I
Right.
can't really. And for the girls who want that, I just feel it's different cloth. In so many words, I I don't know what nicer way to put it.
So let me ask you. I know that going back to the topic of you claiming that he raped you. Now, when you were you in a relationship? Because I think some people may not understand. Like, I don't know, did it happen when you were together or not? But I think for some people may not
What
understand that.
difference did it make? You know?
Well, I was just about to say, whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, a woman always has the right to say no, or a man has the right to say no, because men too.
I I
But
Hmm.
I
what
feel like
happened?
this is a good thing to speak about because obviously just yesterday, Jada, they did the whole red table talk that is just like it's something that is so like people can't really wrap their head around someone that you're with forcing themselves on you when you don't want it, you know? And 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 the ways that it was done to me is just like that's not consensual. You don't beat someone for 2 hours and then force yourself on them to have sex. I'm sorry. If I'm telling you no, I have two black eyes. I don't even know how you're bringing yourself to be aroused to even want to do something with me after you just made me look the way I looked. It's just a lot going on. And I could differentiate me being intimate or having like sex with my partner to him forcing himself on me in the manner that he did. And it's been multiple times. So it's just like it's not an accusation. He can say whatever he want. I mean, he pled guilty to 7 years of domestic violence.
And why do you think people weren't sympathetic to you? Why do you think people? Is it because of his fame and his status?
Absolutely. As like I said, he has a bigger voice than mine, so it's just like people are quick to hear what comes out of his mouth quicker than mine. It's just like I feel like when and I give guys that because a lot of women, especially with rappers and celebrities, they're you know women are shady. They're spiteful. Not I'm not speaking for the good women or about the good women. I'm speaking about the women that's directed to So I can understand the hype that's like sensationalized about a girl being trying to get even with you and saying you raped her, you beat her, all these horrible things to ruin your career. But I'm not I'm not trying to ruin your career. We have a kid together at the end of the day that we both need to take care of. So it's just like, why would I want to stop the way you make money? But if you're gonna speak on me, I'm gonna defend myself. If you're gonna say something, I just I like a lot of clarification. So it's just like there's some times where I'll just address it, and then there's times where I see people fishing for shit, just to say about me. So it's just like, or fishing for a reaction, or like gaslight in certain situations that I just pay no complete mind to.
So after he beat you for 2 hours and then raped you, what did
Wow.
he say to you?
He told me I couldn't leave his room, and I had
Wow.
to stay there till the morning.
See, as a woman hearing that story, I can't imagine having a child with someone like that because it's like, on one hand, you had a beautiful relationship with your father, and I know that you always imagined that your daughter would have the same thing. So, with everything that's happened, and I'm sure you've done a lot of internal work with dealing with that, what kind of father is he now? Like, how do you navigate the man who did that to you versus the person who's the father of your child?
I feel like essentially that's the main goal. We want our kids to love us the way we love our parents if we have that relationship with our parents. But I feel like him being a father today is no different from him being a father 2 years ago or 4 years ago. It's just he's not present. And I mean, he likes to save our daughter for last, if you will. So it's just like my daughter, I know to me, she's my first priority. So it's kind of hurtful that you have a man who puts a lot of people first in his life besides his child.
And see, where I
Yeah.
fell in love with your mom, and that was a great question, Blue. Where I fell in love with your mom was Your mom seems like the mama bear, but with with an accent and from uptown. She ain't playing. She don't got no time for no bullshit.
I really
And
don't play. No.
no, and there was a video. And by the way, I hope people watching you and listening to this conversation are listening to it and looking at it through lenses that are clear of perception or opinion. Because I think what I'm hearing
Exactly.
is a young woman who's articulate, beautiful, comes from a good family, met a young boy, fell in love, had a kid. His life changed, he changed, they then changed, and she's the one who is the person getting all the shit for it. That's what I hear. And so I hope that's what people are receiving.
Mm.
Now, what I saw your mom, what I really fell in love with her was when you had done a video where you were talking about how he's not taking care of his kid or he's not there, not supporting. I don't see you out asking for Birkin bags, asking for cars, asking for trips. I see you talking about his lack of parenting and being involved in your kid's life, not being with you, not giving you clout, being in your kid's life, his kid's life. Why do you think people are missing that? I just feel like no matter the logic behind anything anybody says, people just totally don't get it when people say it. They just listen to what he says.
I mean, I'm not, it's not about me and him. We're not together. So it's just like, I make that very clear. No matter, like, a lot of people get lost in translation when I speak, or the times that I do tell my story. When I tell my story and I speak on, or I get personal, for the few times that I do, like whether it's over live or something, people like to misconstrue it and be like, she's bitter. She's bitter. She wants him. Like, it's just like, no, I'm passionate. And the number one thing I'm passionate about is being a parent and my daughter. So it's just like, yes, it's gonna frustrate me when I see him not being equally as well involved, or just want to that want. I don't see that, even if he didn't have the time, because him being who he is, just that genuine want. Like, you can't see your daughter, FaceTime her iPad. You can't, do certain. It's just certain things that I never built barrier or bridge, or made it difficult for him to be active. I don't have him on child support. Um, I've made it very
Does
clear.
does he does he help? Does he help financially at all?
No.
Not even a
What?
dollar. Not even a dollar.
He popped up into my daughter's life recently after he got off house arrest. I did allow him to see the baby. I didn't, like, we didn't have no real direct conversation. Everything's mediated through my mom. So she was the middle person in, us talking. I haven't spoken to the guy in almost 2 years. I had no conversation with him. He wasn't calling to check on the baby until like a whole year after he was already locked up, and he chose not to speak or reach out.
But this is what I said to Nia Guzman about Chris Brown, right? You didn't ask to get in a relationship with a rapper, but you did. I mean, you didn't ask to have a baby by a rapper, but you ended up having a baby by a man who became a rapper and became wealthy, who now has a responsibility. What is this not going after child support thing? I'm glad that Nia did it, and why are you not doing it?
No,
Hmm.
that's one thing. It's the idea of child support. People look at it as a ticket. It's so frustrating to me that I have to go to it's actually embarrassing that I have to go to a court to ask them that they mandate you to help me. I'm not asking you to provide a lifestyle. Just help, bro. And I feel like you should want to provide those things for your kids. You should want your kid to live as good as you. I'm not asking you to buy me a bag or to pay for anything for myself. I take care of myself. Just contribute and show interest and spend time with my daughter. That's it. That's all I like really press on, and that's where my frustration comes. His lack
But
of
Sarah,
interest.
Sarah, the way that Nia was able to get Chris to do that and to be more active and to show up and do what he was supposed to do, because your daughter deserves to live. I mean, she probably lives well now, but
Jason,
what I'm
can
saying
I
is,
can I ask you a question?
yes.
Chris Brown ain't walking around with 1,006 lines on his head, all over his body in wigs. All right, they're two different people. He's so far. the frustration I have with dealing, and I don't speak to him.
I almost want to say, first of all, I can't even deal with you right now. What she basically said was Chris Brown ain't walking around like a clown with a damn lace front on his neck. Like, I get
That's
it. I
literally what
His
she
way
understand.
of
said. That's
thinking,
literally what she
no,
said.
his way of thinking is completely different, I think, from the average man and person right now. His, I don't,
Clearly.
that's what I'm trying to
But
point
you're,
out.
but if he can go on the shade room and tell my friend Angie that he pays $15,000 for each wig he does, he can make sure that Soraya has a college fund set up, that she
Yep.
has any
Can
private
I, I'm
schooling
gonna
she wants
I'm
to
gonna
go
be
to.
completely personal with you. He said he spent more on I think, on his girlfriend in 1 year than what he has put away for our daughter in a bank account.
Mhm.
Wow.
But that's the point. You have the power to go and hold him accountable. He ain't new to the
Yes,
courts.
and let me tell you
Mm-mm.
something. I've gone, all right, so it was early 2019, and this was maybe a little after the last incident that he put his hands on me, and then he went away to jail and just completely cut all communication. So at this point, I don't know what's going on. I I'm hearing he's cooperating. I'm hearing all these other things. So I'm like, he didn't leave us with anything. Completely, like, he left us out to dry while he got locked up
Mhm.
and took care of the people that he wanted to take care of. So I went to child support. I filed the case or whatever. I did all of that. When I went again to follow up. They're telling me that it's like obsolete. Like, there's nothing in the system. I don't have a case number, nothing under my name, nothing. So I'm like, this is ridiculous. I was just here last week,
So
and
it just disappeared.
like, it was deleted, like it was removed from the
Ooh.
system. So listen to this. The lady who was working the counter looking it up, anywhere I go, especially after that point, I was super under the radar. I didn't want to go to a public building in Brooklyn to family court to, just be spotted or whatever. I was taking caution with those things. So I had a hoodie on, and she was like, I know who you are. And I'm like, do you? She goes, yeah. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm a publicist. And she was, I guess, promoting herself. And she goes, I'm going to be
The
called.
lady working at the courthouse.
Yeah. She
This
was
is
like,
I
messy.
can't.
she was
This is
like,
so messy.
there are people who remove cases. She was like, I'm gonna put it in and I'm gonna send it through for you. So I went ahead and I was like, I was grateful. I was like, oh my God, thank you. She's like, don't worry, get what you're supposed to get for your daughter. That's what she told me. So I had ended up moving. So the county that I moved to, I followed up with them. So again, it's removed out the system. And I'm not gonna lie, after hearing that it was taken out of the system, or how, I don't even know how it works, but they weren't finding anything, and I was going back and reapplying. It was so frustrating. So it's just like, you know what? I took it as he got a good fucking lawyer, okay? Because whoever it is that's removing my case, he's really not trying to help me. So it was just frustrating and embarrassing that I gotta keep on doing this for you to want to do for your daughter. So I just said, forget the whole thing.
That's interesting.
I'm gonna help you figure that
Disgusting.
out. I got a
That's
little
very
idea. I'm
interesting.
gonna help you figure that out because my mother did. I grew up with my mom who fell on drugs, and my dad was in my life. And when she got on drugs, and even before then, we struggled. And she would always talk about my dad's child support. That child support never showed up. He never paid it. This dude got the money to pay for it, and the fact that he can like just run around and talk about how
Hard.
much he's spending on wigs and not taking care of his
Ugly
daughter is not
wigs.
cool.
Ugly wigs, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
No, it's just
So
like I've been through so much with this guy. It's just like I can't sit and even separate it from him, bring myself to the level to even go back to fighting with him in the slightest way that is just like it's not gonna do anything because he just does whatever he wants. Nobody could really tell him nothing, and it's always really been that way. So whenever he decides to be a dad, that's when it's gonna happen. Not because someone told him, not because a court is like. It's just that's just the way he's wired.
But
I
I think it's less about being a dad though, and more about protecting Soraya and making sure that she has
But
all
that's the
the
thing.
resources that she should have, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. My daughter right now is on the spectrum. Like she's on the spectrum for autism. Everything that services, all of that, that's me. Like me and my family and the people that I have around me that help with that. He doesn't help with that. I mean, the last conversation I had with him months ago, well, that he had with my mom in front of me because he can't bring himself to have any words to say to me. He was like acting as if he was involved or wanted to be involved with figuring that out. That didn't happen. He completely went MIA. He wanted to be on board with planning my daughter's birthday. Completely been MIA. He hasn't been around for months. And I feel like the only reason why he did come around a few months ago was, so he can later on that week have TMZ put out that he said sorry to me. He made amends with me. He sees his daughter. He provides after one initial meeting, after a whole year and a half of you not reaching out or doing what you said we're gonna do.
So so when he transitioned into the clown that we know now, were you ever when did you become concerned where his antics with all this blood gang stuff and the going to different hoods and disrespecting people's dead homies, did you ever feel like there could be a security issue for you and your daughter because people know who you are and know that
Jason,
he has a
yes.
daughter with you?
After all right, in 2018, after he got robbed, he hired one of the best security teams out there. So he had maybe like 10 guys around him building a wall that would be in my house every day, and all 10 of those guys would leave. Knowing that people came to my house and we didn't actually move yet, and they robbed him, they stuck him up or whatever. Um, it was uneasy, especially with what he said to me. He told me like, what was said, like towards the guy that robbed him basically was like who's upstairs inside. This is like what he told me, and he was like, Sara, my mom, and the baby, please let me call her. He was like, this is from what Danny told me, the guy said. Um
Hmm.
he was like, all right, if she tries some funny shit, we're gonna have to shoot her. So
No.
yeah, so he told me that after the fact, and I didn't have my daughter home with me for a while until I figured out the whole relocating thing. Because he still wanted to live where we were living because he felt safe. Because every day he walked out with all 10 of the security and didn't leave at least one or two home with me and his daughter. You know? I guess his safety was more important, but it's just, that's the way he saw it. So my thing
Was there ever a time when you felt like any day somebody could just show up and hurt you and your daughter?
My thing is, I feel because of the job that I've done, you know, um, like having made it very clear where I draw the line between me and him. Like I, I make it very clear he don't really care about us. So anyone with a brain knows, like, if anything was to happen, God forbid, it's not gonna really do as much damage to him. He'll. It's unfortunate to him as sad and crazy as it is to hear it or as it sounds, anybody knows hurting us ain't really gonna hurt him.
Hmm.
That's
And so, okay,
infuriating. That's infuriating.
and so for timeline purposes, just so people are following this, because again, sometimes people don't hear; they just hear what they want to hear. You guys met in 2012. You were 15, 16 years old. Eventually got into a relationship. 18 years old, had a kid at 19. Now, in 2015, you weren't aware of the sexual assault case that he's in the news about, right?
I was with him before the case. I was with him after the case. My thing with that whole situation was I months before that I didn't really want to be with him, and I was, separating myself. I had moved out. Um, but on my birthday, I did find out I was pregnant. So he ended up giving me this talk. He's all mouth, oh, we're gonna have this family. I was just tired of him trying to like. At this time, he was building the whole Tekashi 6ix9ine name, so he was just being super disrespectful, suplexing girls on beds. Just had this whole nasty demeanor that was slowly just like turning me off and pushing me away. I was tired of seeing someone that I love and cared about on World Star every day because he's doing some stupid stuff to a girl. So I get it. Everybody was reposting him. Snoop Dogg, everybody. That's the most attention he ever got. So that's what he stuck to.
And
But
then he got addicted. And then he got addicted to it. I'm assuming.
yes, yes, he did. And I had told him, I'm like, I don't, I don't want to be with you, but I'll see how this goes. Within that week, I think he got locked up. And I'm like, he's calling me from jail. I'm not really knowing what's going on. I get to the courtroom with his brother's girlfriend at the time because he was like, oh, he got court, got up here. And I'm hearing what his bail was. And then I'm hearing what the charges. I'm like, what did he do? Like, it can't be worse than flipping a girl on the bed. Like, and then that's when they read the papers and he likes to put it wrong place, wrong time. It's just like, as how is just the whole act of doing what you're doing still okay, no matter
But
what age?
what's interesting is the 13-year-old girl is saying that she was incoherent on drugs and did not consent to
You
sex
can't
with
blame a
him.
child. How are you blaming a
Yeah.
child? She was a little girl. Like, it's just, I have a daughter. I I'm not gonna say that's good for you. You had no business being there. You sure your kid had no business being there, but grown men shouldn't have business having a young girl in that setting, just her herself.
Hmm.
So I don't. She was a little girl. That's just what it is.
What are your thoughts about that? Do you think he likes little girls, or do you think it was wrong place,
No,
wrong time?
my
Or
thing is, I just feel like he saw one thing, and which is, I'm not gonna lie, he's always had this about himself. If he says he's gonna do something, he's gonna set forth to do it, no matter how it gets done. If he says he's gonna be famous, he's gonna do whatever it takes to be famous. If he says he's gonna be a rapper, if he says he's gonna hire all the best ghostwriters, he's gonna do whatever it is. That's just how he is. He's very over the top and he likes to prove points from what we all can see. So it's just like I never for once thought he had an attraction or issue with younger girls. It's just you obviously knew she was younger, whether you knew her exact age. It's not
Mhm.
something you do. That's just what it was with that situation. And I felt like it was a part of him being selfish and young too. But I don't excuse it, no.
So now I got to ask you with Shotti. He recently
Hmm.
again on the conversation with Angie said that he had gone through your phone and saw some text messages with you and Shotti
He
that
No,
went through
I
but
Shotty's phone.
went through
Yeah.
Shotti's phone. Damage. Thank you, damage. Went through Shotti's phone, saw the text messages, and found out that you had allegedly slept with him. Did that happen, or did he make that up? Because that's what he uses as an excuse to why he hit you.
no, because he was hitting me way years before he even knew Shotty existed. He says whatever he wants to say to benefit him. That was something so salacious that was like going all over the internet. So he used it to his advantage. He was always incoherent. He was drunk. While he was on tour, his tour manager was like, he's getting drunk every day. You know, I don't know what's going on. And It wasn't until that day that he got back from LA around November. It was already in November. This is way after Dubai. And those rumors started coming around in July when he says, I slept with Shotti or whatever. So it was just like, that was such like, he can't say I'm bugging out and I need to release this anger because I'm on pills or I'm high off coke right now. He's not gonna tell me that, so he's gonna find excuses. But it was that same day that he supposedly went through my phone, which was the day that he punched me in my mouth. He punched me in my mouth and kicked me out of our house at like by like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. I had all my stuff packed and I was out the house. What it was, I told him I was leaving him because while he was still in LA, this was November 9th, I think. I told him I was leaving him because I saw him in LA with his current girlfriend. I was like, you're cheating on me. I'm not really doing, you're just embarrassing me. It's all over the internet that you're with this girl and you're flaunting her around. So I called my mom. I said, get me a U-Haul, come to our house, and I need you to help me pack all the things. Everything that's mine. And at the time, his mom lived with us, so she was calling him and let him know, like, Sarah's leaving. She's leaving with all her shit. So he booked a flight and came out here. He booked a flight with Shotti and came out here. And by the time I was ready to leave, he called my aunt that I used to always stay with, and he goes, oh, where are you? She goes, I'm at your house, actually. He goes, oh, so Sarah's not with you at your house? That's in Brooklyn. He flew all the way to our house in Long Island in a matter of like, it was less than 30 minutes as we're putting the stuff into the U-Haul. And he had the craziest deranged look in his face. He came with one security guard, and my parents were still in the house. So I'm like, he's gonna beat my ass in front of my parents right now, because this is like the first bold thing that I've ever done. Just like, he's not gonna come back home to none of my stuff and none of my daughter's stuff. So I was already. That's why I had both my parents there with me. He was like, "Go upstairs, let me talk to you." I was completely scared. I'm like, I don't want to talk to you. At this point, I'm completely terrified because he already beat me in Dubai. And I'm like, I'm not doing none of this. You're not gonna beat me upstairs while my parents are downstairs. He was like, I'll leave the door open. I said, okay. He was pacing back and forth in the room, telling me I can't leave, that he needs me. He was just saying things that didn't make sense. So I'm like, at this point, I'm scared because he grabbed me up. And when my mom comes in the room because she heard me squeal just a little bit, because I squealed. I jumped up. I was scared, when he grabbed me. So she was talking to him upstairs, and he just dismissed himself, and went in the shower. She was like, yo, he's acting crazy. He's pacing back and forth, whatever the case is. When my mom left, the security was still by the door.
What was he high or was he just
Listen, I'm going to
angry?
say it right now. The security was by the door, and he had just got back. He came straight from the airport straight to to my aunt's house, and then straight to, he did not unpack or nothing. So I'm going through his duffel. I start going through his duffel, and the security grabbed me. He said, Sarah, what are you doing? I'm like, Sam, he's bugging out right now. He's scaring me. I need to see what he's on. I got to see what he's doing that is making him act this way. It's driving him nuts. Like, I've never seen a person go crazy until I saw him that day. So I was like, I got to see what's making him act this way. And I was like, Sam, is he on drugs? And And I'm looking, and Sam just grabbed my hands again. He was like, don't ask me questions you don't want to know the answer to. And he just went like that. And I saw Coke in the bag. So,
Hmm.
Yikes. I'm listening to the story and I'm trying so hard to like keep it in, but this is like I mentioned, it's very infuriating, but I'm taken aback by how calmly you're sharing these like trash, horrible stories about him. And
um,
so I'm wondering, like, have you gone to like a really great therapist? Is it prayer? Are you just so
no,
tired?
I'm
You don't
just
have energy? Like, how are you not burning his wigs? Like, I would be slashing his tires right now. Like, how are you so calm about all the stuff and he also tried to slander you on top of that. So
absolutely.
how do you
You
keep
know
it
what it
in?
was? I feel like I would drive myself nuts trying to do everything he's doing to me. Does he look happy? Boy is like overdosing on caffeine. Like he looks completely lost. I No matter what the situation is, I'm not gonna kick someone while they're down already, but I am gonna be honest and I am gonna be truthful. So if that bothers you, then I don't know what to tell you. But I can't say the only reason why I'm able to sit here and say these things about him is because he's given me reason to. You've done these things. I'm not saying anything that's not the truth. I'm not saying it in a way that I'm angry about it. Maybe frustrated sometimes that it does come across, and maybe I do get have moments when I'm on the internet and I see little things, but it takes a lot to get a reaction out of me. It takes a lot to take it takes a lot to get a clap back from me. It's just like a lot, you know? So it's just like in itself, he's just a headache. And I already have 7 years of that. Let him be someone else's fucking mess. I can't do that.
Yeah.
My focus is my daughter and getting my life together. And I don't have no hate in my heart for him. I honestly don't. Cause it's just like I don't have to hate him for everything he did. Whether it's God working with me, it's just like I'm just so grateful and happy I'm not in that place I was 2 years ago when I was with him.
Just for clarification on the story, there's no truth to the thing with you and Shotti.
No, it isn't. I don't know. He's really sick.
He
He,
completely made all of that up.
yes, he did, and it's just like he took what was a headline to be something so salacious on like a little bum ass YouTube channel or whatever, and he really forcefully pushed that narrative to
Yeah.
do all the things that he did to me, and it's just like I don't understand.
And
Like
so okay, so he had a kid with you and was in love with you and betrayed you. He became Shotti's understudy and allowed the Blood Gang to validate him for the street culture, and then he snitched on him. Who is he loyal to? Anybody?
to himself. There was guys that he wasn't accusing this on. He just had the biggest falling out with Shawty because I guess there was a money situation that he tried to use. I wasn't. I separated myself from my baby father um, before he went to jail and stuff, and before he started cooperating. And the two people, one most like person that's there for him every day, 7 years, just left him. The person that he was completely close to, he's accusing them of stealing money. There was already this headline that was out there. What bigger way is just like to fuck with me than I'm big on my womanhood. I'm big on, my motherhood. I'm big on a lot of things just because of the way I was raised. So what better way to tarnish those things than to say the things that he's saying, things that matter to me, he wants to get at. And it's just like I don't have to sit here. He failed tremendously. I don't care what anybody really says about me in whatever room I walk into, because the moment I open my mouth, I know it quickly changes. So it's just like I don't have to sit here and defend any of those things to anybody on the internet, especially not no 12-year-olds.
So
It's
what
amazing.
do you think the biggest misconception is about you? Because like Blue had said, or one of us had said, I mean, looking at you, you're beautiful, you're articulate, you come from a good family, you I'm sure are a good mom. You didn't ask for all this. What do you think the biggest misconception is about you as a person?
Um, that I'm just this bitter, angry person. I say this many times. You can't expect anything less or more from me on the internet. It would be a different story if it was like in person. But when you're on the internet and you have this false narrative that's out on you and these people swearing that they know your life more than you do, you're gonna be angry. You're gonna be frustrated sometimes. And it's just like at some point I had to understand that the internet holds no boundary. Like everything's fair game, so they're gonna say the most disrespectful things. So it's just like I learned not to care. I that was something I really struggled with, and it's just like it don't even matter to me. Like these people don't pay my bills. They don't help me with my kid. They don't take care of my family. Like why do I really care? I have good friends and I have good family. And you think
But underneath all that not caring, you're still a human being with feelings. You still have a heart.
absolutely there are
Right.
that you, but I've grown so much like self love, and I've been so content with myself. It's just like yeah, I used to break down. There was times I'm like, oh no, they calling me. They saying I'm a Tatiana. They saying all these things. Oh, I'm for the streets. They wilding on me, and it's just like I'm far from this. Like, and it did hurt my. It hurt my like. It hurt my spirit. It helped. It hurt my esteem. I didn't want to go live. I didn't want to post pictures. I'm just like so over it. It's just I learned to completely just be content with my personal life and what I have going on with my personal life to care too much about what's going on with social media and what's being said, what's not being said.
So when your daughter Soraya asks you, "Where's my dad?" or "Daddy," or asked about him, what do you say, and how do you react to that?
Um, like I said, I have young parents, so my daughter refers to she calls my dad dad. Um, whenever she refers to dad, she talks about my father. My dad, he's more than I can ever ask for. He stepped up in a way that he didn't have to for me and for my daughter. So I we'll get there when we get there if she has questions, and we'll be open about that if he doesn't continue to make any changes, which would be sad. But it's just like my daughter is fine with or without him. So it's just, and I think that should be a low blow in itself, to him as a father and as a man, that your kid's better off if you're here,
Well, but
not
you
him.
have you have to commit to us too that like even though you've tried and the court has fucked you over and over whatever, you have to commit that for the sake of your daughter's future, for the sake of the way that all the resources in which you want to have in addition to what you already have to raise her, that you will continue to fight for what she's owed because it's not about a
Absolutely.
you know.
I do think about that, and I do battle with myself a lot. It's just like he doesn't even take his safety serious. I be on. I don't. I feel like he only thinks about himself at this point, and it would just. I'd rather him just figure himself out in his life before he tries to re-enter my daughter's life. I'll give him that fair chance to get himself together before you bring that mess over here, because we don't need it. We've dealt with enough
Well,
between me and my daughter.
and if he's on cocaine and I mean,
Oh
he's
no, that's not
literally.
that obviously that's not something I don't look. If you guys believe caffeine. I just know a lot of what used to go on and what did happen and what did take place. So it's just like I'm not gonna allow my daughter to be alone in a setting where I still feel like he doesn't value his safety, let alone the safety of others around him, including my daughter, especially
Are
that
you
he saves her for last.
are you surprised he hasn't been killed yet?
No, I'm
Jesus.
not surprised. It's just like the internet's the internet. I know that he did affect so many people's life, including my own, in such a real way that it's just like whether it's good or bad, um, it's still very much real. And I know that's something that a lot of people who were affected, or whether it was secondhand or whatever, they still feel strongly about. But I feel like he's as long as he got security, he gonna still be feeling invincible, like no one can touch him. He does a lot of
Well,
trolling, so he'll post he's somewhere and then really be somewhere else. He likes to strategize, like things he posts, social media, all of that. So I mean, that's always been him from when I was with him, and I know that's him now, at least with me knowing him and knowing his work ethic and when he sets out to do something. So
Well, one thing I will say, he's brilliant in respect to how he's been able to build his brand. I mean, when he did get out of prison, or jail, he had reached out. We had texted each other. I did want to interview him, but I explained to him, I'm not going to, like, I'm not sucking no celebrity's dick to make them feel comfortable to come here. Like, we have to have real conversations because I think about you. I think about the 12-year-olds who watch this sideshow and think that this is real life. I watch how the gangbangers used him and how he used them and how street culture is a real thing in our communities that are killing a lot of young black and brown kids. And so for me, I was intrigued by that part of who he is. But what I want to say, when you say that he thinks he's invincible, I just want to say I hope that after our conversation, you don't feel invincible, because I hope our audience can actually
no,
strip back the layers of whatever perceptions they may have had and they've listened to everything that you said.
no, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you even wanting to take the time to even listen to anything I have to say, honestly, because like I said, if you don't care to hear my story, I don't care to tell you. That's just my attitude, you know. So it's just it is, October is. I'm glad that we were able to do this. October is Domestic Violence and Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Um, a lot of things that I feel should be spoken on aren't spoken on with women and platforms. So I'm happy I'm able to do this and just, I guess, give people a fair chance to hear who I am or have their own opinion.
That's the point
Hmm.
I was about to make. Is you took the words out of my mouth. October is such a powerful month to be having these kind of conversations. And I know you're at a pace where you're at peace with this, but if somebody hasn't said this to you already, I would really, really, really encourage you to think about doing public speaking engagements, because a lot of people, particularly battered victims and survivors, could learn a lot from your testimony. I
No,
think you should
but
speak
that's
about this
that's
more.
the thing I have. This is something I do. I
Yes.
do advocate for domestic violence and stuff like that. It's just people don't really pay mind to that because it's not a good enough headline. It's not juicy enough. They
Keep
like to
talking, girl.
focus.
Keep talking.
I know they like to focus on me going off or my mom going off rather than posting me do go to high schools and talk to young girls. The last event I did, I had, I'm very open. I'm the oldest of five. I have sisters, I have cousins, aunts that are younger than me. I just have a big family and we have a lot of women. So I'm the first person to, like, in my family to be so open and forefront with it now that I talk to all the young ones in my family about it, and I bring them to the events so they can hear the stories. And as painful as it is for them to sit in the audience and hear what I had to go through, because they are my family, I want them to hear that. And last year I had a girl. I did an event. I had a girl. She was my aunt who is younger than me. That's her friend, and she was getting beat on. When I paid for this girl's cab to come to the event, and she came in shades, a oversized hoodie, and a baseball cap. And when she took off them shades, she reminded me her face. She had two swollen black eyes, and her face brought me back to how I looked in Dubai, if not worse. And that, to this day, she hits me up and she calls me. Evelyn still reaches out to her, Evelyn's people, and she tells me all the time, had you not paid for my cab to go to your event and hear you guys talk and you guys not give me resources and help me, I probably would have been dead.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I'm I do things like that. It's just not, people don't, not all people, but at least on social media, that's not what catches a lot of people's eyes. And it's sad because everything has to be a juicy headline or salacious, or someone has to be beefing with each other for it to have attention, or you have to see the ass or titties somewhere. But it's just like, that's just, I learned to take social media for what it is as long as I could give back in the ways that I do, I'm happy with that. So
Well, listen, I'm glad that you're doing your part and using your story as a testimony to help other people. And I actually reached out to you just so we're clear on the timeline. We reached out to you before the whole charges with the 13-year-old happened, because
Yeah.
I had just been seeing you talked about repeatedly. I'm like, where's her voice? Like, who's talking to her? Like, we need to hear what she's saying and let her say her side, because I think it's just disrespectful. It's like insult on injury to beat somebody, rape them, neglect their child that they have with them, and then on top of that, smear their character in the media, and then just like
Yes, but
think it's
do
okay.
you expect anything less from a narcissist? Like that's he's textbook, and it's. I wish a lot of people can see that because the more clear you see it, the more easier it is to handle him and deal with him or
Hmm.
understand him. Like
Hmm.
he's losing his shit, you know. So it's just that's just where I'm at, and like more peace to him. Let him figure his stuff out. I just personally don't need it nor want it in my space with how I handle my daughter and how I raise her. For him to figure it out.
Well, Sarah, I appreciate you coming on the show. I just got a place in New York, so don't be surprised if I hit you up and
Thank you.
tell you to meet me. Tell you to meet me in Dykeman. Though I don't go to
Oh,
Brooklyn,
you
I
wanna
go to
be there?
Dykeman.
Okay. No, 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 of course. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me and ask me basically whatever it is that you guys wanted to ask me and get to know me a little bit more.
And thank you for answering everything, because I know, like, it's not always easy to talk about the stuff that we talked about today, but I know that there's
Hmm.
going to be at least one person out there who feels like now they could tell their story because you told yours. So thank you for doing that.
Amen.
Thank you. I appreciate it all. Thank you.
Of course. So we'll be in touch. Peace.
Of course. Bye.
Bye.